Who's the number one YouTuber you watch?
Grant Cohn. You gotta watch him. He's got the best information on sports.
Stephon Gilmore. The Niners have been linked to him all offseason. There was a recent article in CBS saying the Niners are a good suitor for him. Do you think they should trade for Stephon Gilmore? He's got a year left on his deal. He's coming off an injury. He's 31 years old, but he's damn good.
Okay, so I think isn't he 30? I thought he
Let's
was 30,
see.
but
Let me get an exact date on him. Yep, he'll be 31 on September 19th.
okay. So I think with Gilmore, it's going to be. I think to me everything, and it's related to what you just said about the cap, and everything is cost. Like how much is he going to cost on your cap, and how much is he going to cost in terms of draft picks. Now the thing with Gilmore, I think that I haven't seen talked about much is Gilmore. The reason why he's sitting out, he's holding. He wants a new contract, so I don't think the Niners are going to be able to trade, or any team's going to be able to trade for him, and then be like, all right, just play this year. I think he wants to like extend now. So if you trade for him, I don't think it can be a rental. Like you're going to have to extend him. So I think if you trade for him, I think then it comes along with the question is, would you get rid of Jimmy for him? Because you'd have to do that. So because you have to extend him.
Right.
And then the other question is, what's the cost to get him? And because I'm thinking, at first I'm thinking a second, but then I kind of rethought it. Like he's 31, he wants an extension, he wants to get paid, and he's coming off an injury. Are other teams going to pay a second? I mean, could you get him for a third? Could you get him for a fourth this year and then a second the following year, something like that?
Yeah.
And I think you and Naylor discussed this, but I think that like I would want to make a move because I don't think this year is the year, but I think the following year is where like you really can use a roster around Trey. But I looked and like I don't know that another Stephon Gilmore is out there in 22. Like those DBs, like the corners like that don't really hit the open market. So my thing is, do you think he could play well for the next couple years? So you trade for him now, so that he's on your roster in the next couple years, and you got a shutdown corner on your roster who you hopefully can keep Verrett. And if you have Verrett and you have Gilmore on your, especially with all the other pieces, I think the roster that's this year, if Gilmore is on the team, I think the defense could go to a next level if he's on, because you can do so much more. Because now Verrett becomes your number 2 corner, Stephon Gilmore becomes your other corner, and we've talked about Ward and Tart and those guys and obviously Fred Warner. Like, where's the weakness?
Well, let me ask it this way: if the Niners trade for Stephon Gilmore, extend his contract, but I'm talking this year. Let's say they get Gilmore and get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's basically the trade. Would you consider the Niners Super Bowl contenders?
Depends what they get out of the quarterback position.
Yeah, if Trey Lance plays well enough, I would say they are.
Yeah, they are. If he plays well enough, I think I've said before, I actually expect the bulk of the rookie class to play pretty solidly, because I don't think it's as difficult as it was in the past. Especially what's around Trey. You don't need him to be. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady, especially if we're talking about contenders. Like, can they get to the playoffs and make a run? Like, not okay, they're the favorite, but they might be able. They could possibly.
Yeah, I think the NFC is wide open after Tampa, and if you essentially traded Jimmy Garoppolo for Stephon Gilmore, geez, what team is better than the Niners in the NFC other than Tampa? Maybe the Rams, I guess, although I think they have about 7 good players. I'm not sure. I don't know about them. They've lost a whole lot. Seattle's top heavy, Green Bay's top heavy, Minnesota's top heavy. I don't know. I think this is a really interesting move, and I feel like it would make them contenders. Of course, it would depend on Trey Lance, but what's he going to do? Go out there and fall on his face? I don't think he is.
I don't think so either. But I think what it does is it, like, remember, they were top 5 defense last year, and the previous year they were like a record-setting defense. So if if Gilmore's on the team, he could bring them back to like, hey, we're another record-setting defense. And then the only caveat would be is D'Amico, like, because D'Amico, can he figure it out? But D'Amico's an intelligent guy. Like, I think they've got good coaches on the staff. I think he could do it.
I mean, if they get Stephon Gilmore, they have the best cornerback tandem in the league, I think. Now they both be 30, but still the best cornerback tandem in the league. They'd have Nick Bosa coming back, Samson Ebukam, the best middle linebacker in the league, the best tight end in the league, and an extremely talented quarterback. Sure, he's only 21 and he's coming from 1AA football, but let's not mess around. The guy's athleticism and talent is already in the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks. So that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and if you have a great defense, you're taking away pressure from that rookie quarterback. Like, he doesn't have to be Tom Brady. He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He just has to be able to move the ball, and when you get in the red zone, score.
The upgrade from Emmanuel Mosley to Stephon Gilmore would be drastic. I mean, Mosley's solid. He can't cover DK Metcalf. Gilmore can. Gilmore can cover anyone. That's a tough defense to pass on.
I started watching a little bit of Gilmore because I was curious to see how he did last year. I mean, he did give up a touchdown versus Metcalf last year. I mean, but he covered it was tight. He was in tight coverage. I mean, Metcalf just made a play. Like, I mean,
it's like a point guard guarding a power forward in the post.
Yeah, and the other thing is what you're giving Gilmore is, and he didn't have a pass rush in New England. So if you give him a pass rush now, when it's that particular route and just on anything, I mean, pass rush and coverage goes hand in hand, but that route that he did score on took a long time to develop. Now, if Wilson doesn't have that time to develop and throw it to Metcalf, then Gilmore could break the pass up.
This is why I'm bullish on the Niners getting rid of Jimmy and bringing in someone great like Stephon Gilmore, because I feel like they weren't good enough in 2019, evidently, and they haven't gotten better since then. They lost DeForest Buckner. They added Brandon Ayuk, but they lost Emmanuel Sanders and Kendrick Bourne. They're not better than they were in 2019 when they lost the Super Bowl. So if they could get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, get similar production from Trey Lance, and actually improve things by bringing in Verrett, Stephon Gilmore, I would take him seriously as a Super Bowl contender, considering how wide open the NFC is.
And he fits. If you're talking about that, maybe D'Amico's going to more of a man scheme than Stephon. He fits that. And
you want to bring pressure. What better than to have Verrett and Gilmore outside?
And he's, from what I know and what I've seen, like he's great with film studies. He'd be a great locker room president. Like, if you need some guys to really tutor Ambry Thomas, like, hey, learn from this dude.
Yeah, he learned from Bill Belichick. All right. Follow up from Double B Studio. What's up, Double B? Here's a topic idea. NFC West is most dominant. Do you think it's impossible to win multiple Super Bowls due to the playoffs are always neck and neck? Patriots did it because the division isn't competitive.
It's winning multiple Super Bowls back to back. I think it's always going to be super difficult. I mean, I don't think it's possible, but
always going to be super difficult. I think Niner fans need to stop thinking about winning multiple Super Bowls just because that's what Bill Walsh did in the 80s. Just win one.
I think let's look at the Chiefs this past year. Like, they're in position to win another one. Like, they just got hit with injuries. Like, they had four guys back up on the offensive line. That just shows you how important the offensive line is. And like, I think I don't know if they would win that game, but it's a different game if their starters are not hurt and actually playing the game.
Hey, let's be honest. If the Chiefs are remotely healthy in the Super Bowl, they're going to win last year. They're going to win this year. So it's an uphill climb. It's almost like the Warriors from a few years ago. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, you better have a stacked team with no weaknesses and some good luck as well.
Yeah, you better have an elite quarterback to compete with Mahomes.
Who's also cheap, because Patrick Mahomes' cap percentage this year is 4.
Yeah, 4%.
4, because he just renegotiated, which is I think what the Chiefs are going to do. Just renegotiate every year. Keep extending, keep backloading, keep giving you signing bonuses. What's wrong with that? That seems like a smart, because we've been trying to figure out what is the solution. What happens when you get a Hall of Fame quarterback and you want to keep him, but you know that the money will get too much? Extend, renegotiate every year. I think that's clever.
and have the quarter, and as you see with Tom Brady, is have the quarterback on the same level or the same, on the same wavelength as you. Like, listen, like, we're trying to give you the best team, but you got to help us out a little bit. And it seems like Patrick Mahomes he's right there. And what did the Chiefs do that because he was able to do that? They say, like, look, we're going to help you out. We're going to get you offensive line. Like,
Exactly.
Okay, I'll restructure.
Exactly. Good call. And because if he hadn't restructured, he'd have no offensive line and no Frank Clark. Frank Clark is one of the 10 highest paid players in the league right now in terms of cap hits. So you can't have a guy like that if you're paying your quarterback $40 million a year. No. Niners could have a guy like that if they got rid of it. I'm not going to say his name.